Okay, so your test is going to be on the following: adding and subtracting integers, order of operations, applying properties, and translating verbal sentences. So let's go ahead and begin. We're going to start with our variable on this first sentence. 35 less the product of 4 and x. If I were to highlight, I would highlight my x. So we're talking about x. Let's back up and see what's going on with x. 4 and x. All right, what about 4 and x? The product of 4 and x. What does the product of 4 and x mean? Multiplication. Okay, let's back up some more. 35 less the product. So where is 35 less going to go? 35 less? Would it be this? 35 minus 4x? No, it would be 4x less 35. Right? Working backwards. Let's try the next one. The sum of 38 and m. Okay, let's highlight m. We're talking about m. What about m? 38 and m. What about 38m? The sum of 38m. The sum is addition. What if I wrote this? Would I be correct?
Yes.
Back it up. That is exactly perfectly correct because you could use commutative property. Well done. Yes. Applause. That was good. Okay. All right. Number 3, twice the sum of g and h increased by 4 times h. A little bit more. Let's break it down. Let's highlight our g, our h, and our h. So we're talking about g and h and h. Correct? What about g and h? The sum of g and h, which is addition. What about the sum of g and h? Twice the sum. So would I write that like this? Parentheses. Twice of the sum. Increased by 4 times h. What about h? 4 times h. What about 4 times h? Increased by. Isn't it easier to go from the variable out? No?
Yeah.
Sort of? You're not convinced yet? Yes, sir.
Can you put the parentheses around your two?
Instead?
Yeah.
No. Because if you put the parentheses, he's asking if we could do this instead. Yes? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
But then I'm not distributing to h, too. This is saying 2 of g's and 2 h's. Right? You see the difference?
Yeah.
Good job. Good question. All right, let's evaluate the next one. Evaluate the expression 75 minus 3 times the quantity 7 minus 2. Where do I begin?
Parentheses.
Good job. Right, Gemma? Or grouping symbols first. So 75 minus 3 times the quantity, what? 5. What property did I just use? I just substituted 7 minus 2 for 5. Whenever you're simplifying like that, most likely you're using substitution, correct? All right, let's continue. Am I done with parentheses?
Yeah.
Not really. I still need to multiply because this is saying 3 groups of 5, right? So 75 minus 3 groups of 5 is 15. What's 75 minus 15? 60. Good job, guys. Questions so far? All right, let's continue. Got about 20 minutes. We're good. Evaluate. Where do I begin in this mess? Inside the grouping symbols. Well, inside of these grouping symbols are more grouping symbols. right there. So let's start here. So I'm going to recopy -2 cubed. Grouping symbol. What is 15 minus 7? That's not us. 15 minus 7 is 8 divided by 2. What is my next step?
Still inside that?
Continue in with my grouping symbols. So -2 cubed times 4. Decided I was going to make 2 different types of grouping symbols there. 4. Now what? Let's do that. Let's evaluate that cube. Now, -2, what's the difference between these? One's on the outside, one's on the inside. This one says -2 times 2 times 2. And then although it doesn't make a difference on this one, it does on many. So we have the one on the right. So this is -2 times -2 times -2 times 4, right? Need an equal sign here. Trying to go too fast. I'm being sloppy. What is -2 times -2 times -2? I heard the correct answer. Let's try it again. -2 times -2 is +4. 4 times -2 is -8. Times 4 is -32. Everybody follow? All right, number 6, let's evaluate this. So I have variables, but they tell us what the variables are, so we're going to substitute, correct? So I have y squared plus x times y times z. Let's substitute. If x equals 3, we need to put a 3 right there. And if y equals 5, I need a 5 here and here. And finally, z equals 4, so I'm going to put a 4 right here. What's my first step?
That should be 20.
I would go with exponents first. So 5 times 5 is 25 plus 3 times 5 times 4. Now, I can write that however I want to, correct? What would you multiply first? I would multiply 5 times 4 first as well, because that's easier, right? So I have 25 plus 3 times 20, which is 25 plus 60, which is 85. What property tells me I can multiply those in any order? Commutative property. Yes. And you can switch negative signs around as long as the negative sign stays together with it. Like this, 3 minus 2 is the same as -2 plus 3. Right? Good. Good question. All right, let's evaluate this one. Am I going too fast? Everybody good? All right, let's evaluate this one. We need to evaluate if we know what r is plus 4 s's that have been squared all over t minus 1. So r is 6, so we're going to put a 6, substitute a 6 in there. S is 3, so I'm going to substitute a 3 there. And t is 7, so I'm going to put a 7 here. This is also a grouping symbol. So we need to treat everything in the numerator separate from everything in the denominator, correct? Let's start in the numerator. Where am I going to start when I'm just talking about the numerator? You can cover this up. am I going to start? Yes, ma'am. Exponent. So 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to recopy 6 plus 4 times 9. I'm just going to ignore the denominator right now. Let's keep going. What's next? 9 times 4. So 6 plus, what's 9 times 4? 36. Keep going. What's 6 plus 36? 42. Now let's uncover that denominator. 7 minus 1 is 6, 6, 6, and don't get too upset with me, but 42 is 7 times 6 over 6. Okay? I'm going to do this over and over and over again. I always get that reaction, every class. Aw, man, why is she doing that? Remember why I said I was going to do it like this? Because we can do this easily. So if we practice with things that are easy, then when we get to the hard stuff, it'll be even easier. So when I cancel my 6's, I don't even have to think about it, right? My answer is 7.
Did you get that if we do it the other way?
Yes. I don't believe that's that. All right, moving on to number 8. Let's complete the table. You have some like Joshua. You have some lists just like this on your test. You need to know how to do these. Okay? All right, so anytime I've given a statement, the reason is given. Now let's go to the next step. Where am I going to start? What's inside the parentheses? An exponent. So let's recopy 5 plus 1/2 times the quantity, 16 minus 14. What tells me, what's the reason I can get to that step? Good job. Substitution. What's my next step? Parentheses still. So 5 plus 1/2 of what? 2. What property tells me I can do that? Good job. You guys are on it. What's my next step? Multiply 1/2 times 2. Well, isn't there an invisible 1 under there? So don't they just cancel out? They're inverses of each other. 1/2 is the inverse of 2 over 1. What type of inverse? Multiplicative inverse. So I have 5 plus 1. What property tells me I can do that?
Additive.
Multiplicative inverse property. Tomorrow's class will have all the properties on the top of it in a box, so you've got them to reference, okay? So you don't have to remember them, you just have to know how to use them, right? And finally, what's 5 plus 1?
6.
6, and what property is that?
Additive.
Substitution. Additive would be additive identity, right? Like 4 plus 0 is 4, that would be additive identity. But that will help when you have those names in front of you, right? Okay, let's keep going. Number 9. This time they wrote them out, and we have to give the reason. So what's our first reason always? That's the one we were given. Now look at this one and tell me what changed from this one to this one. From here to here? See how the 3 moved and the 2/3 moved? So that's commutative. Now what's this one? Now that one's associative, right? Are we associating 2/3 and 1/3?
Yeah.
What happened from 2/3? What happened from here to here? Substitution. We added 2/3. That's just like 2/3 cups, right? If I'm making Kool-Aid with sugar, 2/3 cups would be 1/3 cup plus 1/3 cup is 2/3 cups, right? Now if I added 1 more 1/3 cup, how many 1/3 cups would I have? 3. 2/3 cups plus 1/3 cups makes 3/3 cups. What's 3/3 cups? 1. Good. So if I go from here to here, 2/3 plus 1/3 equals 1. Substitution. I went from 3 plus 1 to 4. Substitution. I went from 7 times 0 to 0. Multiplicative property of 0. If I could spell it right. Property.
We put box and then put a period.
Yeah. 0 plus 4? Good job. Additive identity. Excellent. Pretty good? Pretty clear?
Yeah.
Okay. May I move on? All right. These are the trickier ones. I disagree with the way that this one was done. I wouldn't do it the way they did it. I would do it a different way, but let's try it. All right, so remember, let's use the distributive property to break this number up, because I don't want to multiply 8 times 990 because I'm lazy and I want to do it in my head. Okay? So, how could I break up, instead of writing 8 times 990, how could I rewrite 990? I heard it. But who has their hand up? 900 plus 90. Anybody think of a different way to do it? What?
800 plus 190.
Okay, but 800 plus 190, is it easy to multiply 190 by 8?
No.
No. I got an easier way. How about this? That would be even easier.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it? That's just 8,000 minus 80. Right? If I were to distribute, wouldn't that be easier than this one?
No.
I think so. Okay. So what's this next step going to look like? What's my next step from here to here? This is where we're going to distribute, right? So this is 8 times 900 plus 8 times 90. That's the step where we're actually multiplying now, distributing, right? So now what's 8 times 9? How many zeros am I going to add?
2.
What's this one? 8 times 9? 72. How many zeros am I going to add? 1. It's like saying this, guys. This whole problem right here is almost like we're kind of doing it in our head. It's like saying 8 times 9 times 10. Isn't 8 times 9 72? Right? I'm doing that problem right there in my head. So what's 720 plus 7,200 plus 720?
790.
7,920. Easier? Can you guys do that? Let's do the harder one. So what goes here? 14. And what goes here?
4 plus 1.
4 plus 1 7. So what's in the next box? What's my next step? Distribute, right? So 14 times 4 and 14 times 1/7. But I'm not going to write 14. I'm going to write what? Take a wild guess.
4.
See that? No. You're going to fight me. Guess who's going to win? What's 14 times 4?
What's yours?
66? What about this one? What cancels out?
7.
What's left over? 2. What's my answer?
68.
68. Four times 4 is 16. 56.
Oh.
I'm way too trusting. Good catch, guys. All right, let's continue. Use the distributive property to simplify the expression. So let's distribute. What's negative 2 times 11D?
Negative 22.
Negative 22D. Hardest problem with that is don't forget the negative sign. What's negative 2 times negative 5? Positive 10. Good job. This one we've got to distribute to 3 terms this time. Don't want to leave anybody out. 32N plus 40D minus 28D. What about 14? 66 minus 24 makes 42? Yes. You could simplify 11 minus 4 is how much? 13. Ooh, it's not done. Excellent job. So we have 40D minus 28D. Which if I were to do it the correct way would be 40 minus 28, which is how much? How much is 40 minus 28? 12. All right, last one. We've got to distribute, so we have 9x plus, how much x's? What's 8 times 6?
48.
48x plus 16. I can factor out an x. How much is 9x's plus, no, I didn't dismiss you. What's 9 plus 48? What's 10 plus 48? So one less? 57. So 57x plus 16. Have a great day, guys.